Welcome to another episode of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill.
And believe it or not, this is episode 30. So thank everyone for staying around. It's kind of momentous. 30 is pretty long. It's a nice round number.
And I'm ecstatic that we've stayed with it this long. So it's been good for us too.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fun. It's been a great experience for us to do something as a father and son talking about something that we're so passionate about.
Exactly. And it's the NFL Sunday. First day.
I know, the first day of the NFL, and I'm sitting here waiting out a hurricane. It's hard to even concentrate on the NFL, but I'm excited about it today. Hopefully my DirecTV will last me through the Steeler game. And after that, I'll thank God and I'll just be patient until the storm goes through.
That's all you can really do.
Yep. I'll start off with our sport business moments. I've got two. We've had a record-breaking naming rights deal in North America, and it's the largest deal in sports history to this point. And I say to this point because somebody will break this one. Scotia Bank is now the title sponsor of the MLSE, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. The Air Canada Center will become the Scotia Bank Center. And it is a $639 million or $32 million a year for 20 years. And that's bigger than the MetLife Stadium in New York, New Jersey, and bigger than the new Chase Center opening for Golden State in 2019. And interestingly enough, there's a couple elements of this partnership that I really like. One is that the bank has committed to donating separately from the agreement $1 million a year for the next 20 years to the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Foundation to help fund a sports facility with programs geared to at-risk youth, which I really like the cause marketing aspect of it.
Definitely.
And at the same time, Maple Leaf Sports is prohibiting Scotiabank from putting their name on any other building in Canada. So they do have a couple deals right now that exist, like in Calgary. There's the Saddle Dome the name is on the Saddle Dome, and it's on some minor league arena in Halifax. But the Maple Leaf Sports people don't want a bunch of other buildings coming up with Scotiabank. But really, if you spend $639 million, how many more buildings are you going to name?
Very true.
But it's a big number. You know, it's $32 million a year for 20 years in this economy and the uncertainty of everything. That's kind of crazy. My other sports business moment, and periodically we go back to the esports platform. And so I think there's been some interesting things because it seems to be a movement to kind of start pushing esports for a role in the Olympics. Now, we can debate backwards and forwards whether or not it's a true sport or not, or whether it's athletic or whether it is. But it's it's a movement in a number of countries, particularly South Korea, would be heavily involved in pushing this to become an Olympic event.
Certainly.
But it's a real dilemma because you've got the Olympic Committee, which is pretty conservative in its outlook on things and pretty rigid in how it wants you to behave. And on the other side, you've got the esports thing, which is kind of all over the place right now. There's really not an organization. There's not a one unifying esport thing because the publishers, in other words, like Riot is the publisher of League of Legends, the publishers control everything. They have the intellectual property, they have the athletes, they have everything else. And so whatever they would do, they'd have to come together on something. So you're having people like you have Riot and Blizzard, two big rivals, having to come together to make this happen. Now, I think it'd be good for them. It'd be good in the long run. But it requires a lot of movement on both parts, in the Olympics part, to make this happen. So it's just a story I'm just pointing out. I think we need to watch it. And on the same token, the continuing NCAA collegiate video gaming thing. Those are two stories, the Olympic thing and the NCAA thing, that we should follow. We should monitor over the next 12 to 24 months just to see where they go. Because again, NCAA and the Olympics are very rigid organizations, and you have something that's not rigid and is kind of entrepreneurial and pretty free flow, and we'll see how it all comes together.
It's also difficult. I mean, first off, as far as the athleticism goes, there's a lot of events in the Olympics. I think you could argue that over, or whether or not it's a true competitive event. You know, where you're judging somebody's ribbon spinning ability, and not to knock that sport, but I mean, if it's all based on judgment, like there's a lot of things in the Olympics I think you could argue against as far as athleticism or judging.
Sure, I mean, it goes the same way with, is the horse the athlete in equestrian events, or is it jockey?
Clearly, it's the horse. I think the other thing too with these sports is that, like with even something like curling is always curling, whether it's a goofy event, but that event stays the same. Where with esports, the sport, I mean, the competitive aspect of it in team sports is the same, but the games are changing constantly. So what is the most popular game this year might not be the most popular game when the Olympics come around. So
sure, and then how do you equate is winning in League of Legends more difficult than winning in Madden or winning in
Counter-Strike? Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting to see how you figure this all out.
Exactly.
Maybe it becomes like a decathlon. Your team has to win 3 different esport events, but it's all going to be interesting to watch how it all plays out. That's for sure.
Definitely. I know the Olympic Committee is saying that they're using some of the violent imagery and some of the shooters and fighters as reasons not to include those sports because they depict violence. I mean, it's a nice, whether it's cartoonish or whatever it's going to be. It's a little argument they can use to constantly sort of keep it out because competitive esports do have an element of violence depicted on screen. Even if it's something like Overwatch where it's, over the top sort of cartoony looking characters. But it's still,
shooting. Grand Theft Auto doesn't have any shot at all being in the Olympics.
No. But it's even something like I said, Overwatch and League of Legends where you're playing with cartoonish superheroes. You are still shooting people and,
Yeah.
So that's been one of their big keep it out because it depicts violence sort of things.
Well, I know this is the first week of the NFL, and this is the first really full week of college football. But before we get there, I want to talk a little bit about baseball, because a couple things are getting my attention. One is the Astros and the Indians in the American League. The Indians with a 17-game win streak. The Astros picking up Justin Verlander. I'm thinking the American League playoffs are going to be really, really a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. And I am really rooting for the Angels to get one of the wild card spots so everybody can see how great of a player Mike Trout is. On the other hand, you get the Dodgers losing 14 out of their last 15. I mean, thank God they had such a humongous lead. I don't think they can really blow that lead, but who knows? I mean, the Rockies and the Diamondbacks are really both playing very good baseball, and the wild card race in the National League is pretty wide open. So we'll see what happens there. But I think the postseason for baseball looks pretty good this year. It looks pretty interesting, and I think there'll be a lot of good stories for people to follow.
Right. I mean, the Dodgers are playing a lot of AAA guys in and out of their lineup for the last couple of weeks to do all their injuries. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to get that team back and if they can find that rhythm again by the time the playoffs start. Because when they were earlier in the season, they looked just absolutely dominant.
And Giancarlo stands at 54. I don't know if he'll get to 62.
Now,
I'd like to see him get to 62. I really like him as a player, and I think he could break the Maris record, which I consider the only legitimate home run record.
I see. I am on the opposite end as far as that argument goes. I think the record is 73 by Barry Bonds. I think baseball is a sport that's been riddled with racism, cheating, segregation, juiced balls, greenies, uppers, downers, steroids. I mean, I don't think there's any true number. Like, I don't trust... I mean, again, like, maybe he was clean, maybe he was not. I don't know what Hank Aaron did or didn't do. I don't know what anybody did. Like, I assume they all cheat, like almost every athlete on some level, to do whatever they do, and the guy that hit the most is Barry Bonds.
Ooh, come out on it, Jace. Come out on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Like I said, I mean, I know they did, and there was uppers and greenies in the 80s, and there's been steroids in the Olympics going back to the 1940s, so you can't tell me just because steroids became known in baseball in the late 90s that people like Hank Aaron, those guys weren't doing steroids in the 50s and 60s. Like, we just don't know. And, we have records that are based on segregated players and, all sorts of other just general baseball BS. So the record is the record for me.
All right. Well, if there's one thing I hate almost as much as the New England Patriots, it's Barry Bonds. Which brings us to the New England Patriots. What do you think about the game?
You never want to stab the devil in the back and then turn away, with the Patriots being the devil in this scenario. I would say this. I mean, Brady did not look sharp at all. His deep throws, it looks like teams are basically going to make Tom Brady throw deep and on the outside, and not they're going to. I mean, I know the Chiefs have done that for years against the Patriots. They've had pretty good success. So, the Chiefs have played well, and Andy Reid has always done well because he basically clogs the middle of the field and tries to take away the crossing routes, the unders, and the tight end, and make Brady throw on the outside. I think he definitely misses Edelman.
No question. But you know what? They're still going to win that division.
They're still going to win that division because there's absolutely nobody in there.
Playoffs, and then anything else.
Because obviously nobody has any. I mean, the Bills and Jets have made it clear they're not playing this year, and the Dolphins are starting Jay Cutler. So yeah, that team's pretty wide open.
Although I am hoping that Jay Cutler becomes the second coming this one year. And I will be in Miami watching the Patriots and the Dolphins in December. Although the schedule makers were generous to the Patriots, letting them play in Miami in December rather than in September.
Yeah, because that's usually. Although it usually works out the other way, because then they end up, if they play in September, they end up hosting the Dolphins in the cold weather later. But the one saving grace, if you're an anti-New England person, and you want to see somebody else win this year, is clearly, anyone listening to our show knows that we do, is their defense looked really slow. The Chiefs obviously have Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill, who are very, very fast. But in general, that their offensive line, the Chiefs' offensive line, pushed the New England defense around. And when those guys got in space, they looked faster than the guys New England had. And
yeah, they do have some speed on that Kansas City team, no doubt. What was your biggest surprise yesterday in college football?
I mean, obviously you're a big Oklahoma State fan. Haven't been a big beat. But watching those guys go up and
I was thrilled with the Friday night game, but they didn't. South Alabama really isn't a test, so.
No, but watching Oklahoma just stomp Ohio State was the biggest surprise for me.
At Ohio State, that was a big surprise for me. The other big surprise for me was Clemson dominating on defense. I think Auburn gained 16 yards in the second half.
Yeah.
And that the front seven on Clemson was unbelievable. I think there'll be a matchup against anybody. It really makes me look forward to the Clemson-Florida State game now. Two unbelievable defenses, but and questionable offenses for both of them. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm excited about that game after watching Clemson yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I didn't take Oklahoma seriously as a contender. I mean, I like some of the players they had, obviously, but I mean, they just took Ohio. They went to Ohio State and just took it to them. And I love the planting on the flag on the center of their field at the end. I
mean, Baker Mayfield, he's a very emotional player. We were talking offline. I say he's a lot like Terrell Owens, remind me of the Cowboys when he was playing for the. Who was he playing for, the Eagles or the 49ers when they did that at the Cowboys went to the square? He went to the helmet and did the thing.
I think he was an Eagles at that point.
I think he was an Eagle then too.
Because with the 49ers, he was a little bit more subdued.
Passion. I mean, he definitely stoked his team up. Looks like Lincoln Riley has a nice passing game since they lost all his running backs. And again, though, I have to say, is there a conference more overrated year in, year out than the Big Ten?
Well, they got all the big-name coaches now, so people get excited.
So as of yesterday, we had Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and Wisconsin all in the top 10. Do we really believe those are 4 top 10 football teams? I don't, not for a second.
No, but as we talked about last week, the way they set up college football, it's just really difficult to figure everything out because,
there's too many writers in the Big Ten cities that just don't really see enough other football. There's no way those are 4 top 10 teams. No way.
No, but you vote based on school's reputation and alumni and who knows who and all these
wishful thinking.
Yeah. Although, I mean, there's a lot of Big Ten writers from Northwestern, which never gets any love. So.
Didn't get any love from Duke yesterday either.
No, they did not. They have to drop their academics down a little lower. With some good players.
So I was still talking Heisman early, but Baker Mayfield definitely helped his chances yesterday. And winning by that margin against a highly rated team on their home field really puts him high up on the list.
It does. And Sam Donald at USC, who was obviously the, supposed number one pick in the draft this year, the best quarterback, he also played really well yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, Jets fans.
What else we got, Jay?
What's that?
What else we want to talk about this week?
I think a little preview of the NFL. I mean, I'm obviously really excited to just go watch the Steelers and the Browns play.
I am too, and like the gambling odds on ESPN this morning were take the Steelers, give the points, 9.5 points.
I mean, like I said, it seems like it's one of those weird, just it shows you how weird week one is. I mean, between the Patriots losing to the Chiefs handedly, and you just never know going into every year. Like, you take the Steeler game this week, like Myles Garrett, they're great looking young rookie pass rusher, he's out for the year. Their coach seems upset with the front office over some of the cuts they've made, where it seems like he had they've got their numbers guys and their analytics and they're going to go with it. And the coach is sort of left out in the dark and he doesn't get any say on his players, which would make you think that should be a team that will just roll over. They're starting a rookie quarterback, but I just feel like going into week one, you just don't know.
Yeah, not at all.
The one thing I'm surprised about in the NFL right now, I think, is the amount of love the San Diego Chargers are getting. There's been a ton of people that are predicting them to actually win the division.
Not the LA Chargers.
The LA Chargers, sorry. I can't get that through my head. Even though I read about, Phillip Rivers' amazing SUV. You see that?
Yeah, I did.
He's going to watch 4 hours of film on his commute to and from LA every day in his giant SUV with a big screen TV.
He's got too much money.
I hope to have a problem.
And no rings, last time I looked.
No rings, no.
He got bling, but no ring.
But he's one of those guys, you wonder, if he was in a different situation. Because he puts up great numbers. And that team just seems to be snake bit with injuries every single year. And to just an astounding degree. It seems like they're losing players constantly. But in a division where you have, obviously the Broncos look like they're on the way out. I'm sure people are saying the Chiefs are going to be the division winner now, but then you also have the Raiders. But still, the Chargers were getting an awful lot of love for a team that really has never looked great in the last 3 or 4 years. So,
well, you keep drafting down the bottom. You got to be stockpiling some good players, right?
Eventually, but it looks like their first round pick this year is already out, and people are still picking them. So, you just never really know.
No, you don't. I think they're going to have a tough time filling the 30,000 seat stadium they're playing in.
Well, you have two teams in LA.
Los Angeles hasn't shown me it's ready to embrace one NFL team, let alone two.
No, it's they've got great weather. They have a ton of things to do out there. It's a very transient city, meaning you get a lot of people that are moving there from everywhere else. You don't get a lot of people that are, diehard LA fans, and the ones that are, they seem to have sort of embrace. They still seem to embrace the Rams and the Raiders.
Well, look at it this way: whenever the Colts left Baltimore, and the Browns left Cleveland, and the Oilers left Houston, right?
Right.
It was within 5 years that all those teams were replaced, right?
Yeah.
They built new stadiums. How many years has the Rams been gone, and the Raiders been gone from LA? More than 10.
More than 10.
More than maybe 15. And really nobody cared. And when you're gone that long, you find other things to do on your Sundays.
Yeah.
And now you've got to win me back with less than stellar talent.
And you have to win me back when I can turn on, the NFL Red Zone. When I can, sit in my house and have access to every game across the league, and get every update for my fantasy or for my gambling or whatever else it is. I don't need to just go watch a live game. I don't need to sit in traffic, pay $40 for parking, and watch a game where, I think I'm going to be fortunate enough to get to go to at least one NFL game this year. And I'm excited to at least do one, but in general, I like spending my Sunday morning relaxing and doing everything I can, turn the game on, and then moving on after that.
Sure. Because
there's not really there's no such thing as a good seat in a football stadium where you can see all the action.
I'd say that. I've had some great seats in some football stadiums, but they're not seats that the average person's going to buy.
No, I mean, I think where we sat with the Super Bowl for parts of that game, that was an amazing seat. But I mean, it's 100 yards and you're 40 yards off the field. And
Yeah,
I mean,
no question.
I found myself, no matter when I go, no matter how great the seats are, I'm always looking to the Jumbotron. Because I need to see
Yeah, and if you go to a game in Dallas, it's even worse. Now, I'm going to go to 2 games this year. I'm going to go to the Dolphins-Patriot game I told you about. And I'm also going to Thursday night Redskins at Dallas.
Ooh.
And the last time I was at Dallas, and I swear to God I would not watch the game on that Jumbotron. You just cannot help yourself. It is just so big and so omnipresent, and you can see so much better. And I realize it sounds stupid to spend your money and go sit in a football stadium and watch it on television. But in the case of Jerry's world, it's absolutely what you're going to do. Right. I defy anybody to go there and not spend the majority of their time watching the game on that scoreboard.
And again, I think once a year going to a live game is a fantastic experience. To sit with all those people and just be a part of it is really cool. But again, you're talking about selling out 8 home games in LA for a team that, it's tough to get excited about. And they didn't go back to their old uniforms, but I still don't understand. The powder blue. At least sell more merch.
Well, we'll see where it goes. It's going to be an interesting year for both of those teams. And a real interesting year. Maybe a lot of people are saving their money buying trying to get Laker tickets now.
The Lakers have never had trouble, even during when the Clips have been the better team.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's been tickets available now after the last couple of years being down. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of surge. The Laker tickets are going to be high in demand this year.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of which, I've got some real issues with the NBA schedule this year, starting in the middle of October, because people aren't actually thinking about the NBA in the middle of October, unless you're a diehard NBA fan.
Typically not, but the NBA is really dominating.
Tickets for October and early November games. The NBA's always been a tough sell in November till about Thanksgiving, and it's always been a great sell from Christmas on. But moving it up in October, I think is not going to be. It's going to be difficult. And I want to see what empty seats looks like on that website for those early season NBA games. And I love the NBA. I'm an NBA fan. I used to work at the NBA. But I just don't think playing in October, the middle of October, is a good move. The heat of college football, the NFL season's about 6 weeks in. People they're still tied to those sports.
And you have the excitement of, Halloween, Thanksgiving, all these sort of events coming up. But that does lead us into 2 interesting NBA stories. The first of which is they're trying to figure out a way to deter tanking, which has become very hot in the NBA. The process in Philadelphia is, granted they keep getting injured stars, but you look at what they did. They've got a very exciting young team right now from almost a decade of being terrible.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
If those guys stay healthy, then the process of tanking has really worked, and those fans have really sort of stuck with it.
Oh yeah, they'll be sold out almost every game, and there's already a limit on season tickets.
Right, but do you think you can?
I think it's the best. I think Philadelphia is the best basketball market in the country, and I think St. Louis is the best baseball market in the country, and football's up for grabs because there's a lot of really good markets.
Right. I think you have your traditional Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Dallas, New England.
Yep.
But do you think you can actually, sometimes teams just get bad. Like you look at the Cleveland situation right now. Let's say, for instance, they trade for Boogie Cousins, who's going to be a free agent. Let's say they use that Brooklyn pick on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he leaves in free agency. LeBron leaves in free agency. And Isaiah Thomas's hip never recovers. What is the, how are you going to tell that they're tanking or just bad, bad circumstances?
I couldn't agree with you more. You actually become like the Brooklyn Nets, only maybe you have your draft picks.
Yeah. Because, you look at the NBA, it's a star-driven league, and it's, 1 or 2 players really make that difference. And, if playing a couple younger guys for a year or 2 get you a better chance at getting one of those players to actually be relevant again, it's a smart threat. It's a good strategy. As opposed to, we'll just be the Hawks. Or one of
We'll
these
beat
other
whatever we
teams.
can beat, right?
What's that?
We'll beat whoever we can beat.
Yeah, and you're just stuck in the middle. I mean, I know it sounds like you'll be able to tank for a year. You just can't tank multiple years. It seems like it's what they're going with, where it's you can't have a top 3 draft pick 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row.
Which brings us to the other end of the spectrum, the Golden State Warriors, who are giving away bobbleheads at their first 2 preseason games. I mean, wouldn't it be great if your only business challenge was trying to fill your 4 or 5 preseason games? It's an amazing problem to have. I've never seen it before. But they're giving away Draymond Green bobblehead and a Kevin Durant bobblehead to the first 10,000 fans in order to get people to come to their exhibition games when those guys aren't going to play 20 minutes.
No, I mean,
it's such a great problem to have. Kudos to the Warriors.
Well, as Jeff Van Gundy was saying, if everything stays the same, if that team is able to stay together for another 3 or 4 years, barring injury, who is going to beat them?
I don't know. I don't think Houston.
I don't think Houston. I don't think Cleveland. I mean, as great as LeBron is,
I've always said if Houston or Cleveland picks up Carmelo, that dampens their chances.
Yeah, I was like, it doesn't help. It gives them more star power, and you get the vacationing guys back together again. But I don't know what that really does for you. I don't think Cleveland has any trouble. Scoring wasn't the issue. No. Kyrie and LeBron scored plenty last year. You can't stop the other team from scoring because they're just insanely talented. But the other interesting, this is sort of bringing the NFL and the NBA together. This is something I heard somebody talking about the other day. It was sort of interesting. And that's that you have Aaron Donald, who just ended his holdout. He's arguably a top 15 player, talent-wise. He's maybe one of the best defensive players in the league. He's probably top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And if Aaron Donald, it hasn't been that big of a story outside of diehard NFL people. And again, if Aaron Donald walked into the room, obviously he's a giant man. He's almost 300 pounds. You'd probably notice him. But we don't really know who he is. Whereas if Kawhi Leonard or any other sort of, a top 10 NBA star was holding out, this would be the story every single day.
But if Aaron Donald played for a team that was relevant and held out, then he'd be a story.
I think maybe.
If he was holding out from the Patriots or holding out from the Steelers, then he'd be relevant.
I think more relevant, but I still think it's not nearly the same,
No, because one player in the NBA is more important than one player in the NFL unless it's a quarterback.
Right. What's the whole, I know they wear helmets and they're further away and you don't get to see their faces. But, you take Antonio Brown, as great as he is, he needed Dancing with the Stars to become, more famous.
And he got a SportsCenter commercial.
And he got a SportsCenter commercial. But, outside of your really, really big guys, it's tough for those guys to really break through. Because NBA players seem like everybody knows, Steph and Clay and Kevin Durant and LeBron. And, outside of Brady, I don't know who the most recognizable star in the NFL is right now, and he's 40. I know that's what the NFL has always wanted. It's about the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey. It's about an organization, not individual teams. The no fun, all that sort of stuff has sort of led to that. But it just...
Well, I am going to be paying attention today to seeing if the NFL, if there really is more fun in the NFL celebrations today than usual. I am going to look forward to that. What was our new feature we introduced last week, Jack?
It's what's got us interested this week. What are we excited about?
I'm excited about the fact that Mike Trout might be in the postseason because I think he's the best player in baseball that nobody's ever seen. So I'm excited that the Angels can continue to move on and hopefully get a wild card. And so I am going to monitor that situation. And I just love watching the guy play.
So I read an article about him the other day too, and it was somebody was saying that their mom was in a restaurant sitting next to Mike Trout. And when the mom got home, she called her son, who's involved in sports, and was like, "I was next to a Mike Trout." And just
that's what I'm saying.
The fact that the best, but part of that too is that Bryce Harper wants to be a star. Noah Syndergaard wants to be a star. Bryce Harper, Trout, I can't forget his name now. He doesn't seem to want to be a star.
Even his Chevy commercial that he just did, or whatever vehicle that was, where it's a Jeep, maybe it's a Jeep commercial where they're riding over ground to get to and he's ends up going to a Little League game. I mean, just very low key. Mike Trout just sitting in the back seat with a dog, not talking really, just just smiling and being Mike Trout.
Yeah,
very low key. He's somebody who's very happy with who he is, very secure in what he is, and doesn't need a lot. And I just love watching him play.
No, he's.
What about you? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I've been excited for football all week. I'm sad that my fantasy team looks like I didn't have the best draft compared to other people in my league, so I don't think it's going to be a very fun fantasy year for me. But I'm excited for the NFL. I'm excited for the fact that the Steelers are a legitimate contender right now. Not that they weren't last year, but I feel like, they've really they've pushed all their chips to the table. They know this is maybe Ben Roethlisberger's last year. And I'm excited to watch that. Really excited.
Normally I would have said I'm excited about going to Pittsburgh next weekend, to see the Oklahoma State Pitt game. But barring this hurricane, I don't know if I'm going to get there or not. I mean, if we get a lot of damage to the house or something, I won't be able to leave. So I was going to say that, but I'm kind of pessimistic now that I'm going to get to go.
That's very unfortunate.
It is. And so I would like to say something. I hope God is good and spares Floridians from a lot of death and a lot of disaster. I hope this hurricane is more bark than bite, as one of my friends has said. So I'm hoping for that, as it is probably 5 or 6 hours from arriving in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, obviously praying for everybody in Florida. I mean, after Houston, Mexico, and some of the other countries around the world that have just been devastated in the last few weeks, like, we need Mother Nature just to take a loss on this one.
Mother Nature. My food moment, Jason. You ready for this? Goldbelly had a special the other day on Cinnabon, and so I had Cinnabon delivered to my house. And there was a sticker on the box that the rolls were baked at 5 o'clock in Atlanta. And I received them the next day. And they weren't frozen and they weren't cold. And I got to tell you, they had been amazing. Great. Cinnamon rolls have to be one of my favorite comfort foods. And during this hurricane, they've been amazing. So that's my food moment. I haven't gone out anywhere to eat, and I'm not likely to this week. So my Cinnabon moment. So shout out to Goldbelly for delivering me some great Cinnabon.
And that is the same Cinnabon from the mall, right? That we from the airports we have seen?
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And I guess the other obviously we talked football, but the non-sports thing that had me excited, I read a new author recently, James Rollins. He's had a couple New York Times bestsellers. This is the first time I read him. I just read The Seventh Plague. And he is very much along the lines of Dan Brown and Steve Barry. The back of the book says Rollins is what might end up if you tossed Michael Crichton and Dan Brown into a particle accelerator together. Which is, two of my...
So what's the name of the book you're recommending to everybody?
Is The Seventh Plague.
Seventh Plague.
It's another one, much like Dan Brown and Crichton, like, it's very well researched. The historical aspects of it are, based on actual history. The scientific facts are actual science, and there's an entire almost 100-page appendix at the end of the book if you want. You don't need to read it, obviously.
Yeah.
But it sort of
breaks down. But if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, as your mother would say, right?
You can go right down the rabbit hole in a book as opposed to online, and you can see where all of his science came from and all of his history came from. And then he obviously weaves that into a fictional tale. Like I said, it's just...
Before we wrap up, I got one non-sports moment as well. I went and saw It on Friday night. Fantastic. It's a Stephen King that has translated well to the screen. It's very reminiscent in ways by Stand By Me and Shawshank in its character development and friendship, as well as being scary. But it was really, really, really good. And then coincidentally enough, last night I was running on TV looking for something to see, and the original It was on TV. And I got to tell you, I liked the original It when it was out, and I watched the original It last night. It sucked. The acting was so overdone. It was terrible acting. Harry Anderson might have overacted more than anybody I can ever remember. And I remember liking the show when it was on. But Tim Curry carried the original It.
I was about to say,
this one has 5 or 6 unknown actors. and they blend together beautifully, and it's just really, really well done. So I would tell everybody, go see it.
And I think based on the numbers, everybody is going to see it, which is pretty fantastic.
Really well done. And there's going to be part 2. They decided not to try and cram the whole 1,100-page book into one movie, which, unlike the Dark Tower attempt, was probably very wise.
Very wise. And also, I don't know if you saw it. I mean, I don't know if we keep rambling here. But Gerald's Game, another Stephen King project. They just released the trailer for the Netflix original movie Gerald's Game, and it looks really good too. So it looks like between Mr. Mercedes, It, Gerald's Game, pretty good Stephen King year.
Mercedes, by the way.
Yeah. Obviously, Dark Tower being a miss, but you know, for Stephen King adaptations, it's pretty exciting that he's getting that many good ones.
All right, what we got to look forward to next week?
Wrapping up week one.
The first week of the NFL season. Good, more college football. Talk more baseball. Hopefully, some more good sport business moments. It'll be a fun week.
And then see if any.
Not talking about the hurricane next week.
Hopefully, not talking about the hurricane at all. So stay safe. Continue to subscribe on iTunes and rate us if you can. It doesn't take long to rate us. 5 stars would be fantastic. If you feel like you'd like to help us keep the show going and maybe up some of our technical aspects, some Patreon support would be fantastic.
And I'm still willing to do my offer that I'll match every Patreon contribution up to $5 each one for new subscribers, and I give that money to the Hurricane Irma people here in Florida.
So until next week, enjoy the NFL. Stay safe if you're in Florida or anywhere in the South, and we'll talk to you next week.